applique on top.
Wow. We are live on Facebook. Good morning, Patrice and Danny. Hi, everybody.
Good morning, Kim. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Danny? Don't mute yourself. This is all about you. You're muted.
I'm here. Sorry, all kinds of technology problems.
You know what?
Morning.
It's not you actually. The rep is having some connectivity issues.
I am so glad it's not just me.
It's not just you. Hello. So we have about a half hour or so to chat. Congratulations, ladies, on your new positions as Associate Artistic Directors of San Diego Rep. You are joining the longtime Associate Artistic Director, Todd Salovey. And so now we have a nice team of Associate Artistic Directors, as well as the rest of the artistic staff, including myself and our new artistic associate, Ahmed Dents. This is all so exciting. So how about, let's start like this. So Patrice, what do you, tell us a little bit about what you do for the rep and how you are embracing this new role.
Yeah, so for the rep, I work on Latinx projects. So most of the projects that have a Latinx character at the center of it or a team behind it, I tend to gravitate towards those and work on those. So I produce our festival, and I launched our festival 4 years ago. We just had our 4th annual, and we're getting ready for the 5th. As one of the new associate artistic directors, I always have to pause before I'm like, what is that first word? I will be continuing the work that I do on our Latinx projects. So continuing the festival, continuing to work with amigos, and really helping to deepen that commitment to the Latinx community. San Diego Rep is really unique in our ability and like our long-standing commitment to the community. Outside of culturally specific theaters, it's kind of like something that I'm super proud of, but also something that's kind of like unique to our theater.
Lovely, thank you. Danny, what about you?
I have been the literary manager at San Diego Rep for 9 years. And as literary manager, sometimes when I wear my name tag, people say library manager, and it's kind of true because I deal with a lot of scripts. We get in over 300 scripts per year, most of which we go out there and seek. And by we, I mean me. And I have a wonderful collection of 20-something volunteer readers that from around mostly our city, but also some that are not close by, that are playwrights and theater makers, educators, theater lovers, just folks who are invested in theater from various angles, and a whole range of diversity in terms of their own experiences, their own backgrounds, their own ages. And so I work with them as a way to cull through all of these wonderful possibilities that we have to find out what ends up on our stages. And Kim and Patrice are two of the artistic team that end up reading a lot of the sort of, okay, this is what's moving up the ladder towards our season. So we have sort of the first process, and then it moves up and more people get read the plays, and we talk about plays every week, which is exciting. It's my favorite part. And so there's that side of what I do, as well as all the elements of rights related to each thing. And once we've decided what we're doing, helping to educate and inform others about what we're doing in terms of the art pages and in terms of all the internal folks needing to know what the plays are about, and also writing grants to support getting those plays. I help have a hand in some of that. And I am super excited because even though the COVID has completely dismantled what our sense of normalcy looks like, the silver lining for me is that we did get to use some of the funding towards kickstarting our commission program, which we have been longing to do. So our Hear Us Now playwriting commission program started this summer, and we were able to commission 5 plays, all by BIPOC writers. And one of those plays is currently right now I'm trying to get grants for, because it's interactive and online and sort of a very now kind of let's do it now project. So we are in the midst of kind of getting drafts of all these different new plays in and talking about it. And so yeah, it's super exciting. And we also, I think the other thing I wanted to say was that we just got another commission offering. I don't think I can announce quite yet, but we're about to go there. So I am embracing my new work development midwife side of becoming an associate artistic director. So I've been shepherding along these plays that, and helping to select these plays that have already been published, but now really digging into helping playwrights envision their new pieces that they want to share with the world. And I think that's more important now than ever. And also, I guess the third arm that I have involved in right now is our EDI efforts in terms of helping to craft our strategic plan, especially with you two lovely ladies, and helping to push that forward as being part of our new vision council that we have built, that includes Ahmed, everybody in this little room, and Todd, Sam, and Larry Aldridge. And so yeah, I think we're moving forward in so many great ways, which is empowering and exciting to be a part of. And yeah, part of that, we're just kickstarting a Black Voices reading series and discussion series for 2021 as sort of one of the things that are coming out of those EDI efforts. So we're busy reading towards selecting those plays as well, and with the idea that we get to have a really great conversation with our community around Black lives, around the diversity within Black lives and the Black experience. And so I'm just thrilled to be a part of a company that really is taking breath and moving forward and trying to figure out how we can really embrace our mission and take it to the next level.
Beautifully put. Both of you mentioned, so Patrice, you mentioned San Diego Rep as being a unique theater. And then Danny, you also talked about how, COVID has, I like the way you put it, dismantled any sense of normalcy. What do you feel, both of you, how do you feel this present moment right now, both at the Rep, but also in the theater community at large? How do you feel that this moment right now is different than, say, a year before? I mean, there's some glaringly obvious differences with COVID, but I think there's also, and Danny, I know you touched on this, there's also a larger movement. And so I want to hear from you how you see this new stage of where we are as an artistic institution in this time.
Patrice, you want to take that first?
Patrice?
I don't see Patrice.
She's there. Oh, she's having. Why don't you start, Danny? Because I think she's having some. Yeah.
I will start. Well, to augment what I've said, one of the most exciting things that I'm finding about this time is the freedom of the no geolocation. And so I'm able to connect in meetings or connect in conferences or readings in a way with other people that I haven't been able to do before, because I didn't always travel to, this place or that place for this reading. But I'm able to do that all of a sudden through the magic of computers. It's obviously not the same, but it is a nice way to make a new connection. And I think that based on theater's needs right now, there is a huge movement towards collaboration. And that's exciting to me as well in terms of how we can collaborate in new ways. This online world, and I think it is a new art form that's being birthed right now. This idea of online theater, people scoff that it's, well, it's not film and it's not TV, so what are you doing? But I think there is something there, especially it related to interaction with folks, that I think has been longing for in traditional theater anyway, right? That how do we reach out and really make an impact and a personal kind of connection with each individual audience member. And I think that this medium that we're exploring as a larger theater national group right now, is trying to figure out how we can bridge that gap and how we can reach out and how we can have some of the same magic of theater and connectivity of theater through a screen, which is exciting. And I think that being able to do that with other theaters is potentially one of the only ways that we can all sort of march through this long health crisis together. So I think we're all trying to navigate it, and we're not really sure what's going to happen and how to do it next. But there is a lot of energy, a lot of ideas, and a lot of willingness towards that kind of collaboration, which is cool.
Thanks. Patrice?
I'm going to go back to remind myself of the question.
It's okay.
I cut out midway.
Yeah, it's totally fine. My question really was, what do you think is different for the rap and for theater in general about this moment versus a year ago?
Yeah. It's kind of like we're in like a reckoning. So like I've done a lot of school, like spent a lot of time in classrooms, and I had this one professor who would walked us through the advent of the term white, and when white became the signifier for color of skin. And so going over that history and that period, and it really was a shift in the cultural identity of what would become the world landscape. It started very localized and then became a shift in the way that we saw and defined people. And it was a reckoning. And we're sort of in that moment. And, and then we're like, as that class went along, I was like, okay, well, what would it mean to shift our world? And this was back when, I was a student, so like a few years ago. And I was like, what would it mean to shift our world today? How could we do that? And he's like, you'd have to have a reckoning. Like no one could even describe what that looks like because it never happens. And our moment right now is that same space to breathe, space to change, space to look, to reckon, to really stop and consider. We never have had that opportunity as a field. Our last like closures for plagues were like, none of us were alive in that period. And so we've never lived through something like that. But we have that moment right now. And we have that moment as a field, as an institution, and as artists. And we have the opportunity to take stock, to look at ourselves, to continue to create, but also to do so in a way that maybe gives us the opportunity to create the world we want to live in. And it's so exciting. Doing the festival this year was totally different than doing the festival the past 3 years. We were fully online and did not know we were going to be fully online until 2 months before we went online. So it was a quick hustle and like such a team effort by everyone who worked on it. And it really, that period up until that decision, like we're going to be online, that period was an opportunity to think and reconfigure. We had a structure in place and a structure that was working really well, a structure that I'm to this day very proud of. But we had the opportunity to stop and think, how can we be more equitable? How can we invite more people in? How can we connect with people in more deep and sustaining ways? And this online platform, as much as theater people love to connect, it sort of works against that. But there's ways to make it work in our favor. So there's ways to, like, we had a director from Chicago joining us. And in real life, or like in in-person life, I could not afford that with my budget. That is not something we could have managed in the past. And we had a team of actors from Chicago. We had a team of actors largely based in New York. On the piece that I was directing, I had my playwright on Eastern time, an actor in, I think, Texas, and then one in the Pacific Northwest. And I never would have been able to manage that in person. So being online has given us an opportunity to connect further. It also connects us more often. And there's, you know, pluses and minuses on both of that. Like I am working all the time because I'm always like, my home is my work now and there's no reason to stop. And so there's the benefit of being able to connect so much easier. The cost of like making my home a stage and having that be a new thing in my world, but also finding the space where that can feel comfortable to me. And that could be something that I enjoy. I think we're going to be reconfiguring, shifting in a way that is more intentional and in a way that is more equitable, at least at the rep. Institutionally, that's where our commitments lie. And that's something that I'm super proud of. And individually, like as artists, we each have the opportunity to like figure out what this reckoning means for us, what this moment, that word reckoning can sound kind of scary. It can sound like, ooh, like the bills are due, the bad things are coming. But it's like, it's not a weighted term. It only, like, words are tools that we use. They don't hold magic. It's not, we don't live in Harry Potter. They only hold the weight that we give them. And if we can recognize that, we can recognize that word, right? If we can hold it with the goals that we want to imbue it and endow it with, the liberation in that is so exciting.
I totally love that. And I will say also, just to piggyback on the point you were making, Patrice, with the festival, what that showed me, that whole experience of casting, because now it feels like, of course, we're casting through videos. Like it just feels like second nature now. Whereas a year ago for me, I mean, even just in January, actually, even just in March, right before we shut down, my preference, and it still is, but my preference then was to meet in person, and then I would do some video remote auditions. But now everything is remote. So now I feel like you talked about, and Danny mentioned it too, this idea that the geographic barriers are no longer an issue. And now we are just beginning to discover what that means in terms of how we can enrich our artistic conversation, right? Because now we can invite people to the table who we maybe in the past would have been like, well, they can't be in the room, so, and we can't, you know, we can't afford to fly them in, or we can't afford to house them. So, you know, but I don't think it really entered our minds to say, well, we can have them Skype in on a regular basis. Like now we have that kind of fluency with this technology and understanding not just sort of how easy, I guess, it is to connect with people, you know, across the country, but also at this point, how necessary it is to do that, especially when you're producing work that is that calls for a particular authenticity or expertise.
Yeah.
And now there's no excuse. Now we can't all just say, oh, it's not in our budget to fly in that, you know, that person, that expert to
Our
consult.
pool is too small. Like
right, exactly. Well, you know what? We've done it now. We've invited people to the table. So now when we do come back, we know how to do that. And even more, we know how important it is to do that, to expand our table and invite other people to the conversation. So I'm so glad that both of you mentioned that. Well, let's wrap it up this way. What are your, maybe just one or two wishes for the future of, this is going to sound huge, but for the rep, but also for theater, American theater? What is your hope that you'll see in the next, let's say in the next year or so, in the near future?
Near future. Okay. Wishes for Danny. Do you want to go first?
No, you go ahead this time.
I thought that was gonna happen. Okay, which is for the rep in the near future, within the next like 1 to 3 years. Okay. Well, definitely, I want to see the festival expand into a nationally recognized and valuable and contributory festival, in which pieces that we champion and develop within the festival go on to production. So I want to see at least one production in each of our festivals for the next 3 years, maybe more. I want to see a publication of our festival scripts into a monograph, like a book. I think that would be amazing. Also, I'd love to begin research on like a project on San Diego Rep's history. I think that's something that we should celebrate and know. I want the Rep to feel like a home to visiting and local artists, especially artists of color, for it to feel like a space where they're welcome and that they can feel ownership and participation within. Danny, how about you?
All right. I am excited. This is beyond a wish. I am excited to see our goals, the 50-ish different goals that we set forth in our EDI focused strategic plan, really start to come to fruition. I am excited about the training that we get to go through as a team within our company that's related towards anti-racism and anti-bias training. But also excited about all the ways in which our company is growing and changing and shifting. And I think that goes, hopefully, my wish, I suppose, is that also, I see those same types of things happening for theater across the nation. I think it is when I'm, in conversations with chats with National New Play Network, other theaters every week. There's a lot of the same kind of conversations happening, which is so heartening to see this kind of movement really keep the momentum going, because sometimes, something sparks and then dies out very, very quickly, too quickly. So I am so excited to see the American theater and our theater itself really blossom into more diversity and more equity inclusion. And towards that end, also, especially with our festivals, the Latinx Festival, the Jewish Arts Festival that's currently starting a new play development process called the Whole Megillah this year, and really trying to seek new theaters to partner with, and the Latinx turning into sort of a hybrid online live version, and this Black Voices reading series, and a potential BIPOC festival that we've talked about launching in the future. So there are so many elements that are ripe with collaboration and possibility that I really wish to see those just flourish and really ground themselves in networking with other theaters, so that we do develop this sort of web of connections, and that ends up becoming a support net for so many different artists. And I think that we're right there building that net, weaving it together right now. And so my wish is to see that come to fruition.
Beautiful. So thank you so much, Danny and Patrice. I am so proud to work alongside the two of you. I feel like the three of us, I'm just going to say it, we are so fierce. And I'm just going to wave my feminist flag for a moment and say that watch out when you get three strong, diverse, smart women in a room together, because we make change happen. And I feel like we have. And so I am just am in awe of the two of you, and I am honored to work with you. And I congratulate you again on becoming the Associate Artistic Directors. It's so exciting. Before we wrap, though, I do want to remind whoever's watching that it is Giving Tuesday,
yes,
which means that this is the day for you to donate to your favorite nonprofits, including San Diego Repertory Theater. And if you would like to make a donation to our theater, you can go to sdrep.org/Giving Tuesday. And we have a lot of other exciting things happening today. So stay tuned on our social media for other events. Again, thank you so much, Patrice and Danny. Mwah.
Thank you, Kim. You are a force to be reckoned with. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Go team, go.
Bye.
Go team, go.